Have you ever come home from a walk in the park, a hike through the woods, or even just some time spent gardening and noticed a tiny bite on your skin? You brush it off. Maybe you think it's a mosquito or just a little scratch. No big deal, right? But sometimes, that tiny bite can come with a much bigger story. A story that could affect your health in ways you never imagined, even months or years later. It sounds like something out of a medical drama, but it's real. And it's becoming more common than you might think. I'm talking about Lyme disease, a serious illness that starts with something as small as a tick bite. The scary part? Many people don't even know they've been bitten, and even fewer recognize the symptoms until it's already doing damage. Now, if you're thinking, that kind of thing only happens to people who spend all day in the woods, or I live in the city, so I'm safe, I get it. A lot of us used to think that way. But here's the thing, ticks are showing up in places they never used to be. Suburban yards, beaches, even city parks. Climate change, warmer winters, and shifting ecosystems mean these little bugs are expanding their territory fast. This matters for everyone, but especially for those of us who've spent a few more years on this earth. As we get older, our immune systems don't always respond the same way they used to. And Lyme disease, when it's not caught early, can lead to chronic symptoms that look a lot like aging, things like fatigue, joint pain, memory issues, and mood changes. So, it's easy to brush off the early signs or mistake them for something else. But let's pause for a moment. This isn't about scaring you. It's about awareness. Because when you know what to look for and what steps to take, you can protect yourself and your loved ones. So, what exactly is Lyme disease? At its core, it's an infection caused by a type of bacteria called Borrelia burgdorferi. This bacteria is carried by ticks, specifically black-legged ticks, often called deer ticks. When a tick bites you and stays attached for a certain amount of time, usually more than 24 hours, it can pass the bacteria into your bloodstream. From there, it spreads, often slowly, and can affect your skin, joints, nervous system, and even your heart. The early signs can be sneaky. Some people notice a bullseye-shaped rash, but not everyone gets it. You might just feel tired, get a headache, or start feeling like your joints aren't quite right. But because those symptoms are so general, they're often dismissed. And that's where the danger lies, in the delay. The longer Lyme disease goes untreated, the harder it becomes to get rid of. Let me tell you a quick story. A woman I know, let's call her Susan, is in her mid-50s. She's active, healthy, loves gardening. One summer, she got a bite behind her knee. It itched a bit but didn't seem serious. No rash. No fever. A few weeks later, she started waking up with joint stiffness. Then came brain fog. Mood swings. Doctors told her it might be early menopause. Maybe stress. Maybe arthritis. It wasn't until months later that someone finally thought to test her for Lyme disease, and it came back positive. That delay in diagnosis meant she needed much longer treatment. And she's still managing some of the lingering symptoms. Now, imagine if she'd known what to look for sooner, or even better, how to prevent the bite in the first place. So how can you protect yourself? The first step is knowing where ticks live. They love tall grasses, shaded areas, leaf piles, and woodlands. But they also love places we relax, like gardens, parks, and even your own backyard. And they don't fly or jump. They hang out on blades of grass or low shrubs and wait for someone, or something, to brush by. Then they grab on. That's why simple habits can make a big difference. Like wearing long sleeves and pants when walking through wooded areas. Tucking your pants into your socks might not be fashionable, but it's effective. Using a good tick repellent, one with DEET or a natural alternative like oil of lemon eucalyptus, can also help keep ticks off your skin. And when you come back indoors, do a quick tick check. They love hiding behind knees, around the waistline, near the hairline, and underarms. And don't forget your pets. Dogs and cats can carry ticks into the home, even if they don't get infected themselves. So if your furry friend spends time outdoors, make sure they're protected too. Now, let's talk about something a lot of people don't realize: removing a tick properly. If you do find one, don't panic. But don't wait either. Use fine-tip tweezers to grasp the tick as close to the skin as possible and pull upward with steady pressure. Don't twist. Don't burn it. Don't use soap or oil to try to suffocate it. Just pull it straight out. Then clean the area and your hands with soap and water or rubbing alcohol. Afterward, keep an eye on your body for the next few weeks. Watch for rashes, fevers, aches, anything out of the ordinary. And if you feel off, tell your doctor you were bitten by a tick, even if you don't have a rash. That information matters. It could be the clue your doctor needs to catch Lyme disease early, when it's most treatable. What's encouraging is that early Lyme disease can often be treated successfully with antibiotics, especially when caught within the first few weeks. That's why staying alert and acting fast is so important. Lyme disease doesn't care how old you are, how fit you feel, or where you live. It just takes one unnoticed bite. But with a little awareness and a few smart habits, you can reduce your risk dramatically. Now that we've talked about where ticks live and how to protect yourself from bites, let's take a deeper look at how Lyme disease shows up in the body and what symptoms to really pay attention to. Sometimes, Lyme disease can feel like a bit of a trickster. It doesn't always follow a straight path, and that's what makes it hard to spot. You might feel fine one week, then suddenly feel like your body is running out of steam. Maybe your knees start aching, or your memory isn't as sharp as usual. You might feel like you've got the flu, tired, achy, just off. And often, people think, well, I'm just getting older, or it's been a stressful month. But Lyme disease can quietly creep in and mimic other conditions, which means it often gets overlooked. One of the more frustrating things about Lyme is that symptoms can come and go. Some people feel okay for a while and then suddenly get hit with fatigue or joint pain. Others deal with persistent headaches or sensitivity to light. It's not just a physical illness, it can affect your mood and brain, too. People often report anxiety, depression, or brain fog so thick they can't finish a sentence without forgetting where they were going. What makes it even more complicated is that everyone's experience with Lyme disease is different. One person might just get a rash and feel better after a few weeks of antibiotics. Someone else might deal with lingering pain or neurological symptoms for months, even years. That's why awareness is so important, not just for yourself, but for your family, your neighbors, your community. The more we talk about Lyme disease, the easier it becomes to catch early and treat effectively. Now, you might be wondering, if Lyme is so unpredictable, how do doctors diagnose it? That's a great question, and here's the truth, it's not always easy. The most reliable way is through a combination of symptoms and testing, but those tests aren't perfect. Early on, your body may not produce enough antibodies to show up on a test. And later, tests might not be able to tell if the infection is still active or if the symptoms you're having are the after effects. That's why it's so important to share your full history with your doctor, especially if you've been in areas where ticks are common or think you might have been bitten, even if it was weeks ago. It helps to keep track of symptoms in a journal or even on your phone. If you start noticing strange aches, recurring headaches, or changes in mood or memory, jot it down. These patterns can help your doctor piece together the bigger picture. And if you don't feel like you're being heard, get a second opinion. No one knows your body better than you do. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Lyme isn't the only illness that ticks can carry. In some parts of the country, ticks also transmit other infections like anaplasmosis or babesiosis. These can cause similar or overlapping symptoms and may need different treatments. That's why it's smart to stay informed, especially if you live in or visit places known for ticks, like parts of the Northeast, Upper Midwest, and even the West Coast. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: what happens if Lyme disease goes untreated? This is where things can get serious. Some people develop what's called late-stage Lyme disease. At this point, the infection may have spread to the joints, nervous system, or even the heart. It can cause painful swelling, irregular heart rhythms, or neurological issues like numbness or tingling. These symptoms can appear months after the initial bite, long after you've forgotten it ever happened. But remember, this isn't about panic, it's about being proactive. Because the truth is, late-stage Lyme disease is much harder to treat and recover from than early stage. The sooner you get help, the better your chances are of avoiding long-term problems. That said, there's something else that deserves a moment of attention: the emotional toll. Chronic Lyme disease, or post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome as some doctors call it, can be isolating. When symptoms drag on for months, it can be hard for others to understand what you're going through. You may feel frustrated, anxious, or even hopeless. That's why support matters so much. Talking to others who've had Lyme, joining online communities, or simply having a trusted friend to check in with can make a world of difference. And if you're a caregiver or someone who loves a person dealing with Lyme, know this: your support matters more than you know. Just listening, helping with appointments, or even being patient during the tough days can be life-changing for someone going through it. Let's also talk about something hopeful: recovery is possible. Many people, especially those who catch it early, go on to make a full recovery and live healthy, active lives. Even those who've had Lyme for a long time often find relief with the right combination of treatments, lifestyle changes, and support. Some people turn to a more holistic approach alongside traditional medicine, focusing on diet, sleep, gentle movement like yoga or walking, and stress reduction. While these things aren't a cure on their own, they can help the body heal and handle inflammation better. Taking care of your overall wellness, even in small ways, gives your immune system the best chance at doing its job. And let's not forget how empowering it is to simply stay informed. You're doing that right now, learning how this disease works, what signs to look for, and how to protect yourself and your loved ones. That kind of awareness is powerful. It turns fear into action and confusion into confidence. By the way, don't be afraid to bring this topic up in conversation. You might be surprised how many people have had an experience with Lyme or know someone who has. Sharing stories can be healing, and it helps break the silence around a disease that too often flies under the radar. Now that you've got a clearer picture of what Lyme disease can look like and how it affects the body and mind, let's explore what we can do today, right now, to stay one step ahead. From tick-proofing your yard to building habits that keep you protected all year long. There's actually a lot you can do to stay one step ahead of Lyme disease. The first step? Creating a space around you that ticks don't want to call home. It starts with your own yard. If you've got a lawn, garden, or even a little patch of green near your home, keeping it tidy can make a big difference. Ticks love tall grass, leaf piles, and shaded, damp areas. By mowing regularly, clearing away brush, and making sure your yard isn't a tick paradise, you're already protecting yourself and your family without much effort at all. If you live near woods or fields, consider creating a barrier between your lawn and those wild spaces. Something as simple as a 3-foot strip of gravel or wood chips can help keep ticks from wandering into your space. It may sound small, but it creates a break between their natural habitat and your living space, and sometimes that's all it takes to lower the risk. Another helpful habit? Wear the right clothing when you're outside, especially in grassy or wooded areas. Long sleeves, pants tucked into socks, and light-colored clothes make it easier to spot ticks before they bite. You might not win any fashion awards, but you'll be a lot less likely to come home with an unwanted passenger. And don't forget about repellents. There are some very effective options out there, both natural and chemical, that can help keep ticks away. Look for products that contain DEET, picaridin, or oil of lemon eucalyptus. Apply them to your skin and clothes before you head outdoors, especially if you're gardening, hiking, or walking the dog. If you have pets, talk to your vet about tick preventatives, because when your dog brings in a tick, that tick could easily find its way onto you. Now, let's say you've done everything right. You avoided the brush, wore protective clothes, used repellent, but somehow, you still got bitten. Don't panic. A tick bite doesn't automatically mean you'll get Lyme disease. But acting quickly matters. The key is removing the tick as soon as possible. Studies show that the risk of Lyme increases the longer a tick stays attached, especially after 24 hours. So, if you find one, remove it right away using fine-tipped tweezers. Grab it close to the skin and pull straight out, slowly and steadily. Don't twist or squeeze the body, and don't use things like matches, oils, or soap to try to make it back out. Those tricks can actually do more harm than good. After you remove the tick, clean the area with soap and water, then keep an eye on the bite. If a rash appears, especially a bullseye shape, or if you start feeling unwell within the next few days or weeks, call your doctor. Early symptoms might feel like the flu, chills, fatigue, aches, or they might be more subtle, like brain fog or mood changes. Trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, speak up. It's also a good idea to keep the tick in a sealed plastic bag or container, just in case you need to have it identified later. Some areas offer testing services for ticks, which can help determine if the bug was carrying Lyme or other diseases. While those services can't diagnose you, they can give useful clues that help your doctor decide what steps to take. Let's talk about kids and older adults for a moment. Both groups can be more vulnerable, but for different reasons. Children are often outside playing, rolling in the grass, or exploring trails, all great activities, but ones that increase their tick exposure. Make tick checks part of the routine when they come back inside. Look behind the ears, under the arms, behind the knees. Ticks like warm, hidden spots. And for seniors, especially those with other health conditions, Lyme disease can hit harder and be more difficult to recover from. That's why prevention and early treatment are so important at both ends of the age spectrum. Now, I know all of this might feel like a lot. Ticks, repellents, clothing, yard maintenance, it can sound overwhelming. But think of it like putting on your seatbelt. At first, it was a habit we all had to learn. Now, we do it automatically without thinking twice. Tick prevention is just like that, a few simple actions that become second nature over time. And those little habits can go a long way toward keeping you and your loved ones safe. It's also worth noting that climate change is playing a role in all of this. Warmer winters and longer springs are helping tick populations grow and spread to new areas. Places that didn't used to be at high risk are now seeing rising cases of Lyme disease. So even if you don't live in a traditional tick zone, it's wise to stay informed and alert. The old rules are shifting, and staying healthy means adapting right along with them. There's something deeply empowering about taking control of your health like this. It's not about fear, it's about feeling confident. When you understand the risks, recognize the symptoms, and know how to respond, you take away the mystery. And with it, the worry. You become someone who's not just reacting, but staying ahead of the game. That kind of peace of mind is worth every bit of effort. Even better, when you share this information with others, a friend, a neighbor, even your mail carrier, you're creating a ripple effect. You're helping protect more people just by talking about what you've learned. And that's how change happens. Not through big dramatic moments, but through quiet, consistent action, trimming the bushes, wearing the sleeves, checking for bites, speaking up when something feels off. So, the next time you head outside, whether it's a hike, a backyard barbecue, or just watering the garden, you'll know what to do. You'll be ready. And if a tick does make it through your defenses, you'll handle it with calm, confidence, and care. Because protecting yourself from Lyme disease isn't about doing everything perfectly, it's about doing something. It's about being mindful, paying attention, and choosing small actions that add up to big protection over time. And in just a moment, we're going to wrap things up by talking about the one thing that ties all of this together: your mindset, your resilience, and how staying informed and proactive can keep you healthier, happier, and in control, no matter where you live.